Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we will discuss about these features which Firebase actually provides us with. So if you go to analytics is actually a feature provided with Firebase which actually gives you kind of the analytics of your application, that is nothing but the number of downloads and every other data like that. Now as you could see right now, you cannot see anything in the analytics section because we have not yet configured the analytics part over here in the Android Studio. And now let's learn about authentication. So if you click on authentication, as you could see, it actually shows you the list of users which are actually using your app. So let's say you have a bunch of users using your app who are actually signed in your application. You will get their email address and you will also get the date when they actually signed up, and you're also going to get the unique user ID. Now if you move on to the sign in method, as you could see, there are a bunch of options over here which you could use so that your users are logged in into your application. The first one is email and password, which is currently disabled, and that is basically when the user registers on your application by using his email and some default password. Now the best thing about Firebase is that it has Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub authentication built in into itself. So what you simply need to do is that you need to enable this authentication and add in a bunch of code into your Android application, and your app will now be able to handle authentication via Google, Facebook, Twitter or GitHub. So this is one cool feature provided by Android Studio. Now let's move on to the database, which is the thing which we are going to learn in the upcoming few lectures. So as you could notice, the Firebase database is not a relational database, and also it's not actually present in a tabular format as the SQL or MySQL databases are present in a tabular format, wherein you have a bunch of rows and columns, and the rows actually represent data sets, whereas the columns actually represent various attributes. So we will learn how this Firebase database is different from the traditional databases and also how to work with them. So the main focus of this section is to basically deal with databases. Now the next important thing about Firebase is the storage. So let's say you have a bunch of files to work with along with your application. So let's say you have images, audio, video or anything like that. What you could do with Firebase is that you could go ahead, store, retrieve the user generated data like images, audio, video or anything like that without any kind of server code. So that is one more cool functionality provided with Firebase. And now let's go ahead and start working with the database itself. So as you could see, the database actually has this kind of key over here, and what this actually does is that it allows us to store the data further. And as you could see, this thing actually says Firebase application and it has the value null. And if you switch back to rules here, currently as you could see, these are the rules, and the rules for reading or writing to this database currently say that the authentication should not be equal to null. That means in order to be able to write or read to this database, you do need to authenticate users. So for the moment, what we want to do is that we want to set it equal to null. That is, we basically want the user to be able to add or read data from the Firebase database even if there is no authentication. So when we make these changes, you need to hit publish. That's going to eventually save these changes, and now you're basically able to add data or read data to this particular database. So once this thing is done, we are pretty much done with the introductory part of Firebase. So we have basically done configuring the Firebase database rules as well. So now in the next lecture, what we will do is that we will learn how to write data to your Firebase database. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.